Here we are, winter wonderland in March. I had the deck all full of snow, shoveled it off, and now we have some more snow. But it is pretty. Here we are at the cabin. Bruni laying down. She's not happy. I've been doing some cleaning. And we've got our lunch heating up there, which is a smoked chicken. Yeah, can you do that? No, grab that thing, you'll burn yourself. And some smoked chicken with actually some sauce that we had from a pork roast. So just kind of combining it.
Okay, so that's the laneway there. If you can see, goes way up there and then comes down here. As you can see, there's no truck. When we got here, there's the trailer. Hang on. So when we got here, we had left the snowshoes here, my idea, and the snow was about, well, when it had a little bit of ice underneath it, but when you broke through the ice, which we did every step, sometimes it would go above my knee, and you get kind of stuck and have to work your way out. So we managed to make, it's got to be almost like half a kilometer laneway. We got here and got our snowshoes so we could go back and get stuff. It's around March 4th, I think we got here, which is about 2 months since the last time we were here. Got here, our big water bottles that we use for fresh drinking water were frozen. The toilet, even though I put antifreeze in the toilet, like up to -50. I know it was diluted with water, but I'm still thinking it's going to be good to -25. That was frozen. So the toilet wasn't really working very well at first. The sink drain the sink drain seemed to work fine. And then in the basement, the big water tank, the 1,000-liter IBC was, you could tell by knocking on it, was frozen. So what I did was I took the lid off, took a drill and drilled about 1.5 to 2 inches down and hit water, and then hooked up the pump. I kind of bought it was a bit of a cheaper pump. Maybe it was a mistake because we've been having troubles with it the entire time here, but I finally got the pump going. That was on day 2. First day we just put water in. Like put water into a container, like I have another pump down there. So I just pump it out and fill up a container and take it up and fill up the back of the toilet. But the toilet didn't work until the second day we were here because it stayed frozen for quite a while. Even though I put some boiling water in the back, it still stayed frozen. Anyways, just kind of look around upstairs here. We had mice, which isn't very nice. Lousy animals. Going to the master bedroom. One that I know of. I caught one. This is the master bedroom here, like with the closets back in there. And then out here is where that balcony is and that view of the lake. Nice thing is that I don't have to worry when I'm walking up to the windows. I don't have to worry about stepping on a heat register and falling through because there aren't any here. Part of the reason there aren't any here is because I don't want any here. And a big reason there is I don't like the noise of them. They're noisy and they're also really they're not very efficient. I know some people who bought the area builders and suppliers in Southern Ontario, where I come from. They built a green home, and I was pricing out a green home for some friends of mine, and my prices were, it was $250,000 for the building alone. This is about 25 years ago, 25. So they bought the building for $250,000 or $260,000. Anyways, it had supposedly cost like $1.5 million or $2.5 million to build it. So, I mean, I can't compete with that. So they bought it, and they were supposed to allow people to go through for research and that. They had a bunch of German engineers go through there, and he brought this up to me, and it made a lot of sense, something I'd never really thought before. So air is a insulator, which is why you use foam insulation or Roxol insulation or any insulation has air pockets in it. So air is an insulator. So why the hell are we trying to heat air? Like, why would you take a flame and try to heat air and try to blow that around the house? Because you've got the fan that's constantly running and taking electricity. And even like, I think it was something that was started in North America, and it just hung on like 120 volt alternating current for electricity. I think almost every other country in the world uses 240. So you lose electricity there by stepping down, like the voltage going through hydro wires is, I think, something like 13,000, because voltage is a speed, so it goes through there quicker, so you get a lot of electricity going through. So you have to take something like 13,000 volts, and you have to step it down to 120 instead of 240. The other thing's bad about 120 is that with 120, you need heavier electrical cables, because since it's kind of like amps kind of cause heat, and voltage is kind of like the speed that it moves through. So it's like having a high pressure hose as opposed to a low pressure hose, where to get the same volume through, you have to have a lot thicker hose to get the volume through. The reason that we're at 120 is because I believe it's Westinghouse. So back in the day of Edison and Tesla, Westinghouse had this big investment and he was using 120 volts when people were saying that, oh yeah, well 240 volts is better, but he said, no, I stuck too much money into this. So 120 volts is what we have. So to get back to the heating thing, what you're doing is you're trying to use whatever your gas or whatever to heat the air, and then you're trying to blow it around in your house to warm your house up, and you're taking the cold air back and heating it in a central source. Whereas it's much easier to heat water in a single source or fireplace, right? Single source heat, and then there's convection in. So in other words, if you use radiant in-floor heating, the heat comes from the floor up, and if you have a boiler and you have registers underneath the window or in rooms, the heat comes up from there and radiates on its own. You don't waste electricity. We had to replace the furnace fan on our furnace started leaking. Our carbon monoxide detector went off, and we replaced it with a more efficient furnace. It had a much smaller burner in it, but to offset that, the fan runs a lot more. So what we have is we save money on gas, which is already cheap, but we have to supplement that by spending a lot of extra money on electricity. So I think that cost-wise, there's a net loss in having your a higher efficiency gas. So in other words, it's more efficient on the gas, which is cheap, but not as efficient with the electricity because the fan runs more often. A furnace is more efficient if it were to run 24/7 all the time because it wastes energy heating it up, right? Getting from cold to heat, it's got to run for a while, wastes energy that way. So another one of the reasons that I kind of really did not want to go with any forced air system in here. I just wanted to work on convection. Okay, I'm just going to pause this for a while and then go downstairs and show the bathroom. So this is the bathroom. I made that countertop at home. I have to make a better underneath for it at some point. We had this copper sink hanging around, so we're using that. This is the toilet. It's an expensive Australian toilet. I think it was $400, but it has it's a dual flush, and I think the P flush is only something like 0.9 liters or 1.2, and the poo flush is only 4 or 4.2, so it really saves on water. Got the drywalling done now in here. I have to finish the cement board there, and then a really big thing is just figuring out how to put the tub is in there, how to put the faucet. It's one I got on Amazon, so it's just a little kind of not something I'm used to installing, so that's going to take a little bit for me to do. So the idea is we're going to do the taping in here when we come up next. Tape and sand, and then we have our boxes of tiles back here. That's the tile that's going to be around the tub and around the sink in the back wall. So yeah, we had a ton of snow on this deck too because it slides off the roof. And our solar panels, of course, still, because of the trees, they're still not getting any sun. So those trees have to go because it's almost 10 o'clock and there's no sun. Like I said, we don't get any passive solar in here, which would really make a big difference in keeping the place warm. Like now we're starting to get a little bit of light in here, which will help warm it, but it's still nothing like, what a normal, like the house that we live in is, I put lots of windows on the southern side, so on a day like today, the furnace pretty much doesn't have to come on anymore. It gets really warm because of all the passive solar, and here we're getting a little bit now, but we're not getting much. Okay, I'm going to go down in the basement next and show the water tank. Okay, so that's the water tank. This came down. We have a ladder, an access that way. We also have an access down through a door down the hallway. So let's take a look in here. There's actually mouse poop on here, which is a little, not exactly sure where they're getting in. So, live out in the country. Okay, there. You can still see the ice there. I ended up smashing a hole so I can get my other pump, which is there just to fill up a container. Water hasn't been running very well, and so that's the pump I bought there. It was a good price, but it stopped working. That seems to be somehow that these threads are all plastic. I'm afraid that they're allowing air in. So when air gets in there, it's got to pump all the air out first. So you can see the basement was sprayed in foam. They probably got about 4 inches in here, and it's also insulated on the outside. But because it got so cold in here, remember this, the outside of this water tank was, oh, there's still ice there. But when I got here, it was just hard. It was just the inside had frozen. So we find that when we get up in the morning, the temperature drops to about 14. And I think it's just because this rock has gotten so cold now that it like comes up through the floor, the cold, right?
And upstairs is warmer.
So yeah, the bedrooms end up being warm, but I think the benefit of the rock now is kind of this time of year is no good because it got so cold. And I'm also worried about that we're losing too much heat from cold migrating through, which is especially important like from there, that's outside. If there's a good snow cover, ground cover, doesn't make that much, shouldn't make that much difference, but I don't know, maybe it does. The ceiling is open and we have 2x10s there, and we use 2x8s for blocking, so that we can put in radiant infloor heating if we wanted to. But I'm beginning to think that we may have to insulate this floor at least a bit, either with some Roxol or even that that shiny or that aluminum foil that has air bubbles in it, just to kind of, you know, we don't want it to freeze down here because we have our water source down here, but at the same time, you know, like if we're losing too much heat in the basement, we're gonna have to do something. So yeah, anyways, part of the framing detail here, as you can see, we use solid bridging, is putting that in there really tight really adds a lot of stiffness to the floor. And again, 2-foot centers for the floor joists, just like the walls, and the roof. So we get more insulation in. And the basement, we try to go 2-foot centers, but a lot of times, well, it kind of is, but there are spots where, you know, like we cemented in here, I don't know, you can't see that. We cemented in some areas to flatten them out, but we just kind of scabbed down everywhere to get down to rock and fasten the bottom plate to the rock. This is all pressure treated wood down here, pressure treated plywood. There's R5, I think, insulation, like styrofoam on the outside. And then there's this on the inside. But like I said, I think we're losing too much heat. Okay.
All right, that's enough. Hey, that's enough.
Run, run, run. Oh, there's Brittany, king of the castle.
Settle down.
These get so fluffed up.
Hi.
You guys watch the tree for me.
Well, what are we supposed to be watching? Wait, Daddy, wait, stop. Where should we be?
Dave, stand over there on that high spot where you're safe. Yep, further over. Yep. And then continue, you stand behind me there. So in other words, when you start to stick up higher, you can further. If it starts to move, let me know. Okay. how am I through here?
It may kick back when it falls, but you probably know that.
Yeah.
Whoa. Everybody okay?
Yeah, it definitely spun some. Did you get it when it fell?
For the most part, yeah.